I'm Emmalou Penrod, and today we're talking about the art of negotiation. And I got the bulk of this information from this book, Business Made Simple by Donald Miller. I highly recommend it. It's a well-written book with the basics of understanding business. It's a great benefit to anyone who wants to start their own business, or just if you want to communicate better with the businesses you understand how they operate, where they're coming from. So, and these principles of negotiation, though they're written in this business book and they are based on business, they are very applicable to personal and family life. So I will be talking about both of those. We need to remember that we are all constantly negotiating. You're negotiating your salary with your employer, your schedule at home and at work. If you make a contract with a supplier or plumber or electrician, you're negotiating there. You're negotiating when you decide which restaurant you want to go eat at when you go out with friends or family. So a quote from the book is, anytime you find yourself in strategic communication in order to win a deal or solve or resolve a problem, you are in a negotiation. So think about it. That really applies to a lot of what goes on in our lives. Now, referring to business, he said, sadly, most professionals negotiate without ever realizing they are negotiating at all. When they find themselves in conversations that involve making a decision, they think they're just having a conversation. And because of this, most professionals don't get what they want for themselves or for the company they work for. And this applies not only to professionals, but parents, business owners, individuals. Obviously, you need to be aware of when you are in a negotiation and know what you want at the very beginning. I consider negotiation to be critical for families. Parents take the role of being the responsible adult in the family. They are most effective when they can do this with love, persuading their children that they have their best interests at heart and winning their support and cooperation. And the big difference between a business negotiation and a family negotiation is the relationship. You will do business negotiations with people that you may never encounter again. But in a family, you are negotiating with people that you want to have a lifelong relationship with, so that the negotiation skills you use are ever so much more critical. We're going to go through 4 steps in an effective negotiation. And the first one is to know what kind of a mode you are operating in. A competitive negotiation is a win-lose. A collaborative is a win-win. Now, when you're in a competitive mode, the negotiator wants you to lose. If you're in a negotiation with someone who's using the competitive mode, they want you to lose. When you're in a collaborative mode, you're looking for a win-win, both parties to benefit. And it isn't that one style is better than the other. They both work. They both work great. But if you're in a collaborative mode and the other party is in a competitive mode, you'll lose unless you recognize what is happening. And you need to be able to change. A negotiation may start out in collaborative mode, but easily switch to competitive. And you can tell what mode the other party is in by the questions they ask. Are they interested in hearing what you want? or are they just pushing for what they want? And an example he gives in his book. Recently, I negotiated the purchase of a commercial property. My default negotiation mode is collaborative, so I'm always looking for a win-win scenario. It became clear the team I was negotiating with wasn't interested in understanding what I wanted, only in getting what they wanted. So I quickly switched my mode to competitive. We went back and forth on price until the price finally came to the number I wanted. But rather than shaking hands and saying, we both win, I let them know this was a lot of money and I would have to make a significant sacrifice to make it happen. I let them know I'd love for the price to be lower and asked again if they could come down. They refused, so I did the deal. Why was it important for me not to let them know we'd arrived at the price I wanted? Because if they knew we both won, they'd raise the price. A competitive negotiator needs for you to lose. So when you let them know all you're losing to do the deal, they are satisfied. Is this deceptive? That's not how I see it. The truth is, I did have to sacrifice to do the deal, and I would love to have had to purchase the building for less. And if they wanted me to be upset about the deal, why not give them what they want? After all, that's the only way to get the deal done. Remember, when in competitive mode, a negotiator will not stop until they are sure you lose. The interesting thing to me is he still got his win-win. He still got the property at the price he wanted, and the other side still got what they wanted. Interesting how it can work out that way. Notice that it requires excellent observation and communication skills to be aware of where the other party is coming from.
On a scale of 1 to 5, would you give yourself a 5 on achieving what you want in life? If your answer is anything less than a 5, right now, I have something awesome for you. Achieving your goals and living your life at a 5 isn't easy. Most people aren't prepared to focus, stay disciplined, and do the everyday work that is necessary to achieve amazing results. But since you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you're not one of those people. And this is an opportunity that will change your life. Give to Get is a global program that brings together world-class coaching and combines it with empowering masterminds and networking opportunities. We provide 5-star guidance for the price of a cup of coffee a day. To find out more, click on the link in the description of this coaching session.
Now, children, young children especially, operate in competitive mode, but this doesn't mean that they want you to lose. They just want to have their way. They just want to get what they want. So when you're negotiating with a child, I'm going to use the example of assuming in your family you value healthy eating and you want your children to learn to eat vegetables. And if you just order the child, eat your vegetables, you're not leaving the table till they're eaten, that's not a negotiation. That's dictating to them. That's, that is something they're going to resist. A young child will fight for their dignity, especially a strong-willed child. If you get into a power struggle with a strong-willed child, you're going down in flames because they don't have anything to lose. They don't have a job to go to. They don't have any other responsibilities to take care of, and they're fighting for their dignity. So we don't get into power struggles. We negotiate. And we let them have their way by giving them choices. Obviously, it's a mistake to give them the choice Do you want to eat your vegetables or not? Because they're going to pick not. When you give a child choices, you're giving them two choices that you can accept. Maybe have a testing night. Here are 5 different vegetables. Let's try a little bit of each one and see which ones we like the best. Do you want your vegetables cooked or raw? It also helps to ask questions to get more information. Maybe it's a texture issue. Maybe the flavor is too strong. I really am convinced that our taste buds change over time. I couldn't stand cucumbers as a child, but as an adult, I love them. So understand which negotiation mode you need to be in is step 1. Step 2 is not all negotiations are rational. Human beings are complex, and often emotional issues come into play during a negotiation. People are motivated by many things, not just money. Real estate investors have discovered that. Sometimes the price of the house can be lowered if it can be a cash deal, closing quickly. They're interested in things other than money. This is where you're using your communication skills, you're asking questions, listening to understand what they want or value. I can give you an example from my own life. I taught at a public high school for years and a private school. I was interested in working at a private school. It soon became clear when I went to the interview that I would not be making anywhere near as much money as I did at the public school. But they took me on a tour of their facilities. They explained their mission. They showed how they were taking these teenagers who could not function in a traditional school, and they were helping them in all areas of their life, not just academic, social, emotional, and within a relatively short time, because their program was so effective, they were returning them home to complete their schooling at their home. It was a powerful opportunity to really make a difference, and I accepted the job, even with the pay cut. And when I started working there, I found several other people that did the same thing. They could have gotten much higher paying jobs, but they went for the mission. In his book, Donald Miller explains how he persuaded a very highly paid public speaker to come to one of his corporate events and present at a much lower price. He found out that this speaker had always wanted to write a book, but just struggled to organize his thoughts and his material. Donald knew he could help him with that and close the deal by promising him if he came and spoke at his event, Donald would help him write his book. This happens at home too. Would your teenage son clean the garage if he got to use the car? Would any of your children clean up the kitchen so they could have a party with their friends? Understanding what they value and what they want is key plays into an effective negotiation. Remember, it isn't always just about money. The third step is to make the initial offer. And that sounds counterintuitive to everything we've heard all along. Don't you want to wait and listen to what they have in mind before you make your offer? Well, as he points out in his book, anchoring the negotiation means that you're placing a number on the table that you want the negotiation to gravitate around. Car dealerships do it. The price of the car is right there on the windshield. Now you can negotiate with the salesman and get the price down $1,000 and feel great you got a good deal. But what if the price they put on that sticker is actually $5,000 more than they wanted for that car? Then they won too. They put out the price, that's the starting point, and you negotiate from there. At home, quite often bedtime is a negotiating point. Parents quite often want their children to go to bed far sooner than the children feel like they're ready to do so. It could be the parents' desire for a quiet house. They want to make sure their children are getting adequate rest. They don't want grumpy, cranky children the next morning. Whatever, again, being the effective parent and wanting what's best for your child. If you let them pick the time, it could be far later than you feel comfortable with. But if you can start out with a suggestion of, let's make bedtime 8 p.m., then you can negotiate, what does that mean? Does that mean everyone has their teeth brushed and they're in their pajamas by 8? Does it mean pajamas, teeth brushed, and in their room and working, being quiet? Does it mean they're in bed? Does it mean lights out? But when you initiate it and you bring up the time, it can be negotiated, and you'll find it much more effective than allowing them to choose their bedtime. And the last step is, don't get emotionally hooked. I'm sure we've all done that. You're looking for your dream house and you found it, and it was meant for you. This happened to Donald Miller. He had a plan to buy his neighbor's house. He did a lot of entertaining, like 200 guests a year. So he wanted to tear down his neighbor's house, build his dream house there, and then use his current house as a guest house for all of his company. And he approached the neighbor. The neighbor quoted a price based on properties in much more expensive neighborhoods. Donald knew he was asking too high of a price, but as he would go outside, he'd look over there and he'd start to imagine his dream house, and he was almost ready to just pay him what he's asking. And then he remembered there was a 15-acre lot nearby that he had looked at earlier. So he called his real estate agent and he said, I want you to make this lowball offer on that property. And the real estate agent was almost hesitant to do it. It was so low, he feared it would be insulting. But as it happened, the owners were ready to talk. And so they ended up buying that 15-acre lot at 2/3 the price. And they got a good deal. So split your interest. Find more than one choice. If you have 2 or 3 houses you could be perfectly happy with, then you're in a much better position to negotiate than if it has to be that house. And families can get into that exact same situation. I want to tell you about my granddaughter. She's 8 years old. Her name's Jossie, and we thoroughly enjoy spending time with her. Now, I am remembering when grandchildren are little and they're sent over to grandma and grandpa's house while mom and dad go do something, they don't have a choice. But as they get older, they do have a choice. If they think grandma and grandpa are too cranky or ornery, then when they get older, they don't want to go to grandma and grandpa's house. I want this relationship with my granddaughter to continue. I want to have that trust and rapport there when she's a teenager. And if she has a question or a problem, I want her to feel like she can come to me. So when we take her on an outing, we take her swimming or to the park, she always wants to stay longer than we do. So I negotiate. I know she's coming from a competitive mode, not that she wants me to lose, but she wants to feel like she had a choice. She got what she wanted. So about a half an hour before we really need to be on our way, I will go to her and say, do you want to leave in 15 minutes or 20? And she usually picks 20. And then I say, okay, that's fine. And then I'll remind her, okay, we have 5 more minutes. Do everything you want to do. Make these last 5 minutes count. And then she's ready to go. Now, one time we were at a park and she was playing with another girl that was there. I think they were exploring the galaxy. I don't know, but I could tell they were having a great time. So when I went to her with do you want to leave in 15 minutes or 20? She said, more than 20. Well, I knew that we actually had 45 minutes to the time that we told her parents we would have her home. So I said, okay, I understand. It looks like you're having a lot of fun. I came back in about 23 minutes and I said, it's been more than 20 minutes. Do you want to go in 5 or 10? And of course she picked 10 and it worked. She was ready to go. We got her home on time. Now, sometimes I've seen families at the park and I think and I did the same thing when I was younger. You want them to have as long as possible at the park. If you tell a child they can stay as long as they want, for some children, that could be 2 or 3 days. So the parents suddenly realized it's getting late. We still have to stop by the store. We have to do other errands. We really got to get home. And then they're emotionally hooked. They've got to get those kids to go right now. It doesn't go well. And there are tears and unhappiness. Remember, I think the negotiations you make at home with your family have far long-lasting effects. As I said, business negotiations, it's for the deal. You may not have a long-term relationship with that other person, but with your family, make sure you're using a negotiation style that supports and strengthens the relationship. So remember those steps, understand, know what negotiating mode you're using, adapt it, collaborative, if you're both in collaborative, but know which one the other person is in and adapt. Understand that it's about more than just money. With my granddaughter, it wasn't the number of minutes. It was just feeling like she had a choice. It was what she wanted. And make the first initial offer and don't get emotionally hooked. Have a couple options. You'll have far more negotiating power when you have more than one option. All right. And I thank you. I have enjoyed sharing this and I hope you found it useful. Have a great day.
Thanks, Emmalou.